Feliratoztam még egy videót, fogadjátok szeretettel.
Ben Hodges is a former commanding general of the US Army in Europe. He now serves as a senior advisor to Human Rights First. That's a US-based human rights organization. Welcome back to DW, General. How much of a problem is it for Ukraine that a different war, Israel-Hamas, is now dominating headlines?
Well, that's an excellent point. The Hamas attack on Israel did in one day what Putin could not do for 2 years, and that's to make the West forget about Ukraine. I don't believe this attack was a coincidence. I think Iran and Russia, clearly they're strong allies. They're the only real ally that each one has. And so to me, it's not a surprise that this attack happened when it did and that Russia is benefiting from it so much. And of course, the fact that the support for Ukraine seems to be weakening even in my country, in the United States, that there is disagreement about the support. It's getting tangled up in domestic politics. This is a gift to the Kremlin, and it reinforces to them that all they have to do is just keep hanging in there until the West runs out of will.
Right. And so you believe the West has forgotten about Ukraine. Those were your words.
We haven't forgotten, but what has happened is that until I haven't heard anybody on the news in the last few weeks even talking about Ukraine. So I'm grateful that Deutsche Welle has decided to address this. Look, this is a fight for survival by Ukraine, but it's not just about Ukraine. This is about us. European security and prosperity, American prosperity depends on Ukraine being successful against Russia. The inflation we're dealing with, the disruption of food and energy supplies, is all because of Russia's attack on Ukraine. And so if we're serious about those issues, and if we're serious about protecting the rules-based international order that we claim to value, then we have to help Ukraine win. It affects all of us. And of course, the Chinese are watching. The Chinese are watching to see, do we have the political will, the industrial capacity, and the military capability to stop Russia, stop Iran, and deter China?
Right. And let's just have a look at what's happening, or rather not happening, on the battlefield at the moment. Why do you think we are seeing this apparent stalemate?
The principal reason is because the West has not delivered to Ukraine the capabilities that are needed for Ukraine to, number one, make Crimea, the most important part of the terrain in occupied Ukraine, to help make it untenable for Russian forces. I mean, the Ukrainians already have proven the concept with just 3 Storm Shadows provided by UK, 3 cruise missiles. The Russian Black Sea Fleet began to withdraw from Sevastopol. Imagine if they had 50 or 75 American ATACMS or German Taurus missiles, what would happen to Russian forces there? And if they had the long-range precision capabilities to hit Russian headquarters and Russian logistics, then we'd have a much different situation on the ground. So the reason this thing has stalled is because the West, led by the United States and Germany, have not committed to helping Ukraine win. And this is going to be blood on our hands if this thing continues to drag out.
Looking ahead, we have today's announcement that Vladimir Putin will stand for re-election to president next year, combined with a very real prospect of a second Trump presidency. How do you think that combination is likely to work out for Ukraine?
Well, this is going to be bad news, not just for Ukraine, but for all of us. Of course, no shock that Vladimir Putin has announced he's going to run for president. The only question remaining is how much. He hadn't decided yet how much his margin of victory is going to be. I do worry very much that President Trump will come back and be the candidate for the Republican Party. It's unbelievable to me that we have millions of Americans that would vote for him, even if he were in jail. But at the same time, I do trust the American legal system, and he's got an awful lot of obstacles in front of him before Election Day, which is about 11 months away. And of course, President Biden, who is the current president and has a good economy and a lot to point to, he's got to do a much better job of making his own case to the American voters. And of course, it's going to be tight. The Russians their only hope. They have no way to break through Ukraine. There's not going to be a big Russian breakthrough where they drive towards Kyiv or Kharkiv again. Their only hope is that the West runs out of will. And so the idea that Trump even has a chance gives oxygen to the Kremlin.
Good talking to you as ever, General.
Remélem tetszett. Köszönöm a figyelmet.